Hello, in this video I want to show you a really cool pattern to write your YAML code, which I learned from Martin at the last code sprint. So a typical use case is you want to create an accordion, right? So you create a new node type called accordion, and inside and here you have a super type content collection. So right inside the accordion, you can add new elements, and you want to prevent all other items and only allow an element of type accordion.item. So the next step you would do is you create a new node type called accordion.item, which you can then create below the accordions, and it will have some properties. So the problem you have now is that in your main content collection, you want to prevent any usages of this accordion item. The way to do that is typically, or how many people did it and how I did it, was inside the same file to just say Neo's content collection, and then here, and here then specifically disallow this element, which is not a perfect solution. One thing is you are overriding core elements, and the other thing is it's not that clean. Sometimes maybe you want to do that. There's a way better way to do that, a nicer pattern, and the idea is you create a separate object which you call which is of type constraint, and I called it constraint content restricted. And now the idea is that that I prevent this inside my main content collection. So here I have my typical page, and in the main content collection I'm saying specifically disallow the constraint content restricted. And now everything which inherits from this constraint restricted element will not appear in that list. And so the only thing I have to do is to add as a super type constraint content restricted to true, and it works. And I don't have to do all these things here. I just add this one super type. And this is a really clean pattern. And the same way you use this content restricted, you can also make a type called document restricted. And there are many similar use cases. There's also another nice way of using this pattern, which I want to show you now. In one project here, I created an inline subnavigation. And I don't want that the editor actually has to maintain these links. So what I'm doing is I'm just grabbing here all the relevant node types below and using those. So a very naive way to do that would be here I create a new here I create a new element of content subnavigation. It doesn't have any properties. It's automatically filled. And what I'm saying here is that the elements consist of all nodes which come after the current node. So my idea was, if this is in the middle of the page, I don't want to scroll up, just down. So I'm saying every node which comes after that, and the naive solution would be to say here of instance headline, for example. And yes, as you can probably guess, maybe a month later you figure out, oh, I have a second node type which is not of type headline, but headline with icon or something, and I also want to have that in my list here. And here we can also use a similar pattern. So, I mean, one small thing I add, I'm only showing elements which have a title, otherwise it's useless. And here, instead of using this content headline, I'm here using another constraint. So I'm saying everything which belongs to, which has this subnavigation item constraint should appear here in my subnavigation. So then I created a very minimalistic node type, which is just abstract and has this this name. And now in, let's say for and now in my node types, I'm just adding this here to the node types, and then they automatically appear here. And it's also, again, a very nice and clean pattern, because when I introduce a new node type, I just have to add this super type to it, this one here, and I'm only changing, or I'm only adding one new YAML file, and everything is automatically used with the correct constraints. Yeah, so I hope you like the pattern as much as I do, and feel free to use it everywhere.